Hello, all you people out there. This is Kenneth Kestner, and this is the Story Forge, where we look at books and I go through my journey as an author. Okay, today I want to start our journey here on this new channel for me with a book review. And what I'm going to do is probably at least once a week, twice a week, we're going to look at a book that I have read. And today we're going to start out with the Soulbound series by Hailey Turner. And it's a wonderful high-octane urban fantasy. I'm really big into fantasy, especially werewolves, vampires, things like that. And so this book series caught my attention. And just to talk a few things and get started, basically, if you're a fantasy fan, we've really got to talk about this book. You know, that rare, incredible feeling when you pick up a book and it completely reminds you why you fell in love with fiction in the first place. I'm talking about that absolute mind-blown feeling you got the very first time you cracked open a massive epic. Who knows? Lord of the Rings, anything like that. For years, I've been looking for an urban fantasy that captures that exact high stakes energy, but without being so dense and overwhelming that it feels like a textbook. I wanted something that doesn't just read like some low budget, cheap paperback from the early 90s. Well, I finally found it. Hailey Turner's A Ferry of Bones and Gold, again, part of the Soulbound series. For me, it was a masterclass in what I like to call light fantasy. It's got massive stakes, mind-blowing world building, and high-octane action, but with a touch of lightness that keeps you completely hooked. I'll go over what I rated this book a little bit later, but I've got to say it was very high. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why this book needs to be at the top of your reading list. If you're into fantasy, urban fantasy, any kind of fantasy really. We're talking military, magic combat units, ancient pantheons, fighting for power, and a main character who is an absolute badass. So let's dive right on in. So looking at this book and this series, I want to start out with the world building because as a fantasy nerd, this is where I usually get super picky. Hailey Turner absolutely nails it here. She constructed a gritty, modern New York City where normal humans walk the streets right alongside mages, witches, sorcerers, vampires, werewolves, demons, gods, you name it, they're probably there. But here's the brilliant, pragmatic twist when we look at this book and this series. The supernatural isn't some hidden underground secret. It's fully institutionalized. Everybody knows about it. The military even has its own dedicated combat branches that do combat magic. And there's also international intelligence agencies that deal with the supernatural. So you get this incredible seamless combination of modern 21st century weaponry and primeval magic. There's even dragons in these things. Spoiler alert. It makes the entire world feel incredibly real, tactical, and very dangerous. And the pantheons, I got to tell you, I was very surprised that we saw pantheons from all over the world. It's not just Greek pantheons. We are seeing things from everywhere in the world. And I think that's what makes it extremely unusual when we look at this type of fiction. Hailey Turner, like I said, doesn't just stick to one sandbox. She goes into everything. And she uses this awesome concept, think like Neil Gaiman, where immortals from ancient religions actually grow weaker when humanity forgets them and gains massive spikes in power when they secure new followers. Because of this, these gods are highly active, deeply selfish, and totally self-serving. They don't give a single crap about human feelings or mortal problems. They treat everyone like pawns in their celestial war. My absolute favorite detail is we get to see Hermes basically as a punk rocker. That's basically how he's described. Love Hermes throughout this entire series. So that sort of sets up the world building. And let's start out and move on to our war-torn battle mage. Now, a great magic system needs a great protagonist to wield it. And Patrick Collins is an elite main character. He is a special agent for the Supernatural Operations Agency, or SOA. And he is a total war-torn veteran battle mage. But here's the catch. He is physically and emotionally scarred from his time in the military, and his magic has been damaged beyond repair. He's nearly played out. He's a cynical, sarcastic loner who has spent years trying to shut the world out to protect himself, but at his core, he's just too honorable of a man to sit on the sidelines when innocent people are in danger. He is dragged into the plot because of his childhood soul debt. Basically, when he was a kid, these self-serving immortals blackmailed him into a contract so they could use him as a weapon in a cosmic war his family started. Patrick wants absolutely no part of it. When demon-led ritual killings start popping up in New York City, the local government comes to Patrick and the SOA to help. And the mercenary magic users of the Dominion Sect are the enemies. I'll just throw out one of my favorite quotes in the book. Perfectly sums up Patrick's reputation. The local authorities tell him, "Do what you have to do. Just make sure the city is still standing at the end." And Patrick's internal response is just classic because he's thinking about the absolute ruins he left parts of Cairo and the Middle East in during the military days. He just says, "Oh yeah, not sure I can promise that." He's very sassy. Love the character of Patrick. Now, moving on, as Patrick is looking for allies to help him survive this mess that everybody's in, the fates throw him into the path of Jonothon Jono de Vere, dangerous British werewolf. And this is a point I am going to point out in here. This is a book where we see a gay romance. So if you're not really into that type of book, then you honestly probably could just skip the parts because there are some illicit parts, especially as we move through the books, that may make some people uncomfortable. And if it does make you uncomfortable, I would suggest read the book, just skip those parts. Because if you take that out, this is still, to me, classic, great fantasy world building type of book. And the story outside of the romance is still excellent. I do want to be super clear about this for pure fantasy fans. This is first and foremost an urban fantasy, and the romance is firmly secondary. It doesn't hijack the plot or really slow down the mystery. Jono is a badass ally who is fiercely protective and loyal to the fight. The partnership they build is slow, earned, and they burn a mutual respect for each other. Now, there's some serious sizzling chemistry here between them. Because of that, like I said, there are a few explicit sex scenes in the book. But look, if that's not your thing, like I said, aren't comfortable with it, skip it, go on to the next thing. Turner focuses way more on the plot, so there's very little filler. It's just a great high-stakes dynamic between two warriors who have each other's back. Let's talk about the action, because Hailey Turner writes fight scenes like an absolute boss. The big climactic battle had me on the edge of my seat. There are so many moving parts. And throughout the book, there's so many moving parts with fae, werewolves, vampires, mages, witches. But every single character has a completely distinct voice. You really get to watch Patrick start to build that awesome found family of allies in this book. And the entire series is basically a found family. They're talking about Jono is a werewolf, and they're a pack, at least later on. It's a spoiler, but hey, this book has been out for 8 years. So when I look at this book, I give it a 9 out of 10. I do sort of don't give it a 10 just because the first few chapters are a little bit slow. If you can get through the first few chapters, you're going to be fine on this book. You get a lot of lore in those first 2 chapters, which can make the world building a little confusing at first. But once you get past that, it's going to pick up pretty good. There's very few things I'm thinking of right now that I would have not wanted to have read. You know, I think overall you're going to love this book. Easily, for me, this is one of the best urban fantasies I've picked up. It's got a massive 7-book scope, and I've already actually read the entire series, so I hope not to spoil anything long-term for you. But if you want a smart, action-packed fantasy with a brilliant mythology, well-written, badass main characters, go out, grab a Ferry of Bones and Gold right now, wherever you can do. With that, go out, read the book, take a look for yourself, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments which pantheon is your favorite, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later.